Welcome everybody to OSCQR Standard 2. The second standard for OSCQR that we are now reviewing states, course provides an overall orientation or overview, as well as a module level overviews to make a course predictable and easy to navigate and find. So we're talking about preparing and onboarding the student in our course at the beginning of the semester, as well as keeping that student on track with these module level overviews.
So an orientation to the course, I think, is important, just to give the student a roadmap of what they can expect in the course. Course schedule, for example, is something that we would use in a course overview as part of it, where they could see every single module, the readings that are required, the activities that are expected of them, and how they're going to be assessed. So they can kind of see the whole class as a roadmap and what to expect and how to plan. As far as what's due every week, they can kind of plan out their day. A lot of online students have families, have jobs. They are taking online courses because they need the flexibility. And if they can see what they have to do every week and see the pattern of what's due every week for the whole entire semester, they can really plan out their week and fit in pick times when they need to when they need to work and plan it out better. I think the module overview is very important as well, so that every week when they log in, they could just see and be reminded of what's due and when it's due. We're trying to move more to the multimedia and video avenue, so the students can actually see the instructors and connect with them, and they'll give them an overview exactly what to expect. I mentioned before the course schedule, so we like to have almost like an Excel spreadsheet where they get to see week by week the assignments, the readings, the assessments, and maybe even like we're moving into a module video overview as well. So the faculty member will introduce the module and give them a reminder of what's due.
At MCC, there has historically not been a template. I know that we have a template now, but students could be taking my class and an intro to business class, an intro to philosophy class, and when they log in, it's all going to look different. And so it's very easy for a student who's new to an online environment to get lost, and you want to give that student right away some sense of how to navigate your course in particular. Because you might have a student, when I first started teaching, before I had a really good sense of how to create the overview, I might have a student 3 weeks in say, I just had no idea how to navigate. And so I've missed the first 3 weeks, So that's why it's important. So what I've done in my class is I've kind of beefed it up over the years. The more tools that I learn how to use, the better I think I am at helping students navigate. So I used to use a PowerPoint lecture, but now I actually have a PowerPoint video that I created in our new lab. And so just, screenshots of where students need to find things, and then making sure that they have something that they can download and print as well and keep with them to navigate the course if they need to, but just giving them lots of options to figure the course out.
So a lot of faculty don't see the value of doing a course overview and a module overview. They feel like it is repetitive. They also don't always see the value in doing a specific course schedule in an Excel spreadsheet, because they kind of do something along those lines, maybe not in detail, but they do something along those lines in the syllabus. So they don't see the value of breaking that down to a specific document.
I think the most obvious pitfall is not recognizing that other professors might set up the course very differently than you set it up. And so assuming that students are tech savvy, we talk about digital natives and digital immigrants, and I think we make a lot of assumptions about what our students are capable of figuring out. And I think it's also, there's a lot of students who will get in and if they can't figure out in 30 seconds, 1 minute, they're busy and they're just done. They're out of there. So I think you have to think as a professor, what's the most expedient way of providing this information to the students, and making sure that you have all kinds of ways for the student to get into an understanding of how the course is set up. So visual, print, audio, just making that accessibility factor key. I think another pitfall is that faculty, because we're very busy, we have a lot of obligations. We don't respond to our online students as quickly as we need to sometimes. And I think it's super important in the the orientation week that we provide at MCC, but then also in the first 1 or 2 weeks of the course, to as quickly as possible get back to students who are confused, and to provide them a discussion box right up front that, here, voice your concerns about the course or voice your confusion about the course. Give them the opportunity to call you, make sure that they know that they can do that, to stop in your office if they are on campus, but just to check in with them constantly. And I think one of the pitfalls is those first couple of weeks are busy for all of us, and it's very easy for us to forget about an online course and the needs that students might have. But those first 3 weeks, I think, are essential.
So that's our standard from SUNY with a nice description, a nice video talking about how to fulfill this standard. So when we talk about part 1 of this standard, the actual definition, we really focus in on providing an overview of the online course. And that's an overview for the whole course, which goes in the Get Started. Then we also have this other part where we're talking about an overview of each course module, so that you're preparing the students to understand why they're taking the course. And then each week you're preparing the student to understand what they're going to do each week and how it plays a role in the course overall. So for this part, the overall course orientation or overview, this overview really has high level things in it, which it's talking about right from the syllabus. We have the course objectives in the overview. We talk about the readings, where they're coming from, the publisher platform, interaction guideline, which means, what are we doing in the course? Are we doing all quizzes? Are we going to do a lot of discussions? Are we going to do a lot of case studies? Are we going to be working in groups? So those are their interaction guidelines. Their expectations, for both the students and yourself, that the students can expect to perform at a certain level, and then what you're going to be guaranteeing, like your turnaround time for answering their questions, your turnaround time on grades, that those are your expectations you want to explain to them, as well as, of course, talking about how due dates run overall, not specific due dates, but we're talking about the flow of the week. Sometimes I call it pace. What is the pace of the week for that course? Now, in the third part, we're talking about module orientation, which really boils down to course tour. Everyone's course template is slightly different, and students, it's the #1 complaint for students. And we really need to think about that, right? If a student takes 5 courses, they have 5 Blackboard course templates that they have to learn, and 5 publisher platform templates they have to learn. So they have 10 templates, these 10 platforms they have to learn just to do the work every semester. So it's a lot of cognitive overload for them. They haven't even started thinking about the content, and they've already got 10 different platforms they got to learn. So these module orientations are really going to help them orientate to the course, onboard them. They know where everything is. And of course, they then have a list of what they need to do, and then you'll have specific due dates for assignments, activities in the modules. So what is the practices that we're talking about overall in this overall definition for practice 2, for standard 2? First, course overview video. So this course overview video, a high level video talking about different things, a course tour video describing the navigation in the course, and advanced organizer. So an advanced organizer, it really is something that you give to students to prep them for what's going to happen in the class or the next week online. And that includes task lists, checklists, the syllabus schedule. You may have a graphic organizer where you're using a graphic calendar. So those are those things for the standard. So what's in a course overview? A course overview includes the course outcomes, so the students understand what knowledge and skills they're going to be learning, the required reading and how to get that required reading. So if you're doing a textbook publisher platform, you want to talk about where the students can find the information for getting that textbook. You don't have to tell them step by step in the course overview how to do it, but you should point to where it is. Talk about the expectations for interactivity for both you and them. Again, talk about whether you're going to be doing a lot of group work, they're going to be a lot of individual work, they're going to be working on a lot of math problems by themselves in the adaptive learning. Then talk about the expected required time. So students have a misperception of the amount of time an online course takes. They relate it to class time. So if you have a 2-hour class time, they think that they have a 2-hour online course work. They don't understand the credit hour formula. So you want to make sure you talk about that there will be 9 hours of work for the course each week expected. And of course, if you're teaching a studio or lab, it'll be 12 hours per week. The schedule with due dates, you also want to make sure that you point to where your schedule is and talk about where those due dates are. You can have a video or written is also acceptable. I think the course overview, again, we go back to that idea of your face being there so that the video is more impactful. But as you can see, here is my video. I'm not going to play it for you. You can download the PowerPoint and play it for yourself, and you can watch exactly how I introduced the course. But also, I'm going to give you an example of the written. So this is my written course overview. It shows you right here. We have the average hours per week, 9 hours. I'm getting them ready for that. I'm also giving them the time frame, Monday midnight to Sunday midnight, where all the work is going to be done. And additionally, I point out that everything is due on each Sunday with the exception of their first initial point on Thursday. So that's everybody's very clear about when things are done for the class. Then I talk about that interactivity, right? What is due, when it's due, what they're going to be doing, assignments, videos, quiz, readings, they're going to be thoughtful. And then I point them to the schedule below. I talk about briefly about the readings and homework from the textbook, also how to obtain, especially if they have problems, let me know. And then I talk about my ask a question, right? Ask a question, I will respond within 24 hours. Again, that's giving them my expectations, what they can expect from me, and also talking about how they can connect with me and where they can find that information. So again, the overview is quick. It's a couple of minutes at most. It's not a lot. You're not walking through each of these things. You're overviewing them, and then you're pointing to them where those resources are. For a course tour, we're really talking about creating a screencast or screenshots of your Blackboard template and how it's organized. You have 3 different tools you can use. Zoom and Collaborate. You could just open a session, which I often do, and record yourself capturing the screen and walking through. You can download that video and upload it to either Medial or VoiceThread, or you can just do the whole walkthrough in Medial as well. This course tour is going to onboard them very quickly to the technology and the class management that you're using for your course template. It's really helping them get on board, get up and running, and not spend a lot of cognitive load trying to figure out how to do things. I also put in my course tour here so you can read it. It's about 7 minutes. I'm not going to play it right now, but you can download and actually see how I walk through that space. Adding a task list, again, that's our advanced organizer. And really what you want to include is this is about step-by-step coursework and technical instructions, right? We have 3 different types of things we need to talk about in our task list. We need to talk about classroom management. which is our due dates. We have to talk about technical, which is the different tools that we're introducing to them and how to use them. And then we also have to talk about what actual coursework we do. And this is a little bit from last week, which is we want to use this list to direct student action. Often without a list, students are left wondering what they should be doing in the class, what order they should be reading things. So this list prepares them for that. The instructions should be very clear so students don't waste time trying to translate what you want them to do. Also, step by step, write one after the other, 1, 2, 3, 4, so they know exactly the order in which to do things. And it should be consistent. Your lists and task lists, how you set them up, it should be the same every week in that course. And again, these lists reduce anxiety overall. And when we talk about Shauna Wells and the work she's doing with the community Office of Community Resources, what we're really talking about is mental health, right? We have a large population of our students who have anxiety, and these task lists will help them reduce that stress, be more successful. So here's an example overall what the beginning of my course looks like. It goes into the Get Started. The Get Started we talked about last week. So in the Get Started content area, I have the welcome video, which we talked about next week, right in there. And then there's my advanced organizer. I'm using a checklist. Often I use the checklist by Horton. Horton has it divided between read and watch and do because they are 2 different actions. So a student could sit down in one session and read everything and watch everything. And then a second session, they can do what is required for the week. So it's an easy way to evaluate for that. So what's a module overview and a module list for? What is that then? So a module overview provides just a little bit about what's going to happen in the week. It's going to be the where, what, when, how of the week, right? Just like that course overview, that video is going to show the when, where, how, and why. You're going to do the same thing in this module overview. You're going to have the module specific learning objectives listed somewhere in this overview. You're going to explain the key concepts. You're going to explain if there's any new glossary words. You're going to give them a reference. And also you're going to talk about how the week for the work fits into the bigger picture of the course. Why is it important that they learn what they're going to learn this week? And how does it play a role in the greater course? And also you're giving them a very clear list of the due dates and the tasks for the week. Here's a great example. Here's my week 1. I call them module 1s. And in the video that I walk over, I'm not going to play this, but in the video that I walk over are the weekly objectives. I give them a brief description. I actually give them tips for the week, so for things to watch out. And then I talk about tricks of the week, which is things to make sure they don't miss. And so I do that each week very consistently in those modules. They get to see my face, they get a couple of PowerPoint slides, and it really sort of packages the week for them. I tell them why it's important and what the role is overall. And then right underneath that in module 1, I have my advanced organizer, which is this checklist. Again, I'm talking about what to read and watch and what to do for the week, and specifically in what order they want, what I want them to do that. And here's an example of the Get Started close-up, so you can get a good look at that. And I also put it in the order I want them to read and do. So when they scroll down from this checklist in the weekly work, everything is listed exactly as it's listed here. Here is another type of checklist you can use. You don't have to use the read, watch, and do. You can just do a simple 1 through 10 task list, and each one has its due dates. I'm using that bold to really emphasize what I want them, those tips and tricks I want them to be not miss. And of course, have the instructions complete the checklist by Sunday. right? So I'm reinforcing everything I talked about in the overview and in a nice little checklist for this. This is part of Universal Design for Learning. Also, checklists are very powerful organizers for learning as well. And that's it for this week. Those are our examples. Again, you can request a course review from this link. And what that means, that's a little different now from what we're doing from the self-study. So we are requesting that all courses, online courses, are reviewed through the self-study, and you receive the email with the links in that. Through those for the self-study, the request a course review is slightly different. This is a more intense review that's done with me. I reviewed your course and you review course. We get together and we talk about it, and then we plan for the future of how we can improve your course. So this is working with me. There's night points. There's a digital badge you get. Here are the resources for this week. Again, there's a lot of those resources are in the community of effective practice and Blackboard. If you're not in that, please let me know. I will add you to the community of effective practice. OSCQR Standard 2, here's a link directly to it. There's a lot more in there. There's a lot of ideas of how you can fulfill this standard. I found this really great article from Faculty Focus, which is the 10 online course structural components to support learning, which it talks about what we talked about last week and this week. It's a really nice article, short article you can share with your other colleagues. I went and I was really interested about where does all this research about checklists come from? Like, how do we really know that checklists improve student learning? So I researched it, and we came up with this book called the Checklist Manifesto. And he walks through the research. Not only is it good for students, it's productive for business, of course, and particularly for nursing, those in the health sciences, using checklists as part of their work that they're doing every day. So it's a really, really interesting book. Highly recommend getting that if you get a chance. And thank you so much. Please let me know if you have any questions. You can always email me. You can also click any of the links on the Learning Design Center. That will get you right to my schedule where you can make appointments. And it's great having you again. I hope to see you next week. Next week, we'll be working on the standard 1-4 standard in OSCQR, which is all about syllabi. So we're going to talk about syllabus policies, boilerplates. I'm going to share a lot of boilerplates that we've designed over the last 2 years that can go into online syllabi really easily, as well as the deconstructed syllabus in the Get Started. So we're going to talk about that. And as well, we're going to do a little bit about accessibility, about making sure that your syllabus is accessible.